Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. Happy Spooky Sunday! Today I have a batch of stories for you from r/LetsNotMeet. I use creepy music in the background for these videos. Because the sound intensity level varies depending on whether you are listening with headphones or without, I have developed both a version that is best with headphones and a version that is best without. You are listening to the headphones version. For the no headphones version, click on the link in the description below. Our first story today is called The Bus Driver. So when I was 15, I was completely incorrigible and hung out with some not so great people. My main friend group hung out at this house that we dubbed our house. Our house was technically a foreclosed property that had previously been owned by one of my friend's parents. The parents had moved out and left their 2 adult children, who were the siblings of my friend my age, living at the house. Anyway, every single day after school, my friends and I would meet up with the older siblings at our house and get absolutely hammered. Around 4 p.m., everyone would show up with fists and drugs, and it was just a constant party every night. Things were pretty out of control there. One night, we were all drunk AF, as usual, and I got in a fight with my boyfriend. I decided I wanted to leave, but no one would drive me home and the buses had stopped running. It was late, probably 12 or 1 a.m. I lived 6 miles away, and this was an urban area that was sketchy to walk in at night. But I was ticked and drunk, so I told everyone to go F themselves and left. I got 3/4 of the way home without incident. I hadn't seen a single car or person, and while I was kind of scared, I was feeling more confident the closer I got to home. I was crossing the freeway overpass that glides down into the valley where my neighborhood is. All of a sudden, I hear a whirring noise and see lights coming from behind me. I look over my shoulder and see a bus coming up beside me. The destination marquee is blank and the lights inside are dim. I turn away and keep walking, and as the bus gets closer, it slows down and drives right next to me. This goes on for maybe 30 seconds when I start to feel genuinely uncomfortable and glance up. The bus stops and the driver opens the door. He's not wearing a uniform. I still remember him pretty clearly. 50-something, salt and pepper hair, medium length for a man, thick darker gray beard, copper wire rimmed glasses. He leans against the driver's wheel and looks me up and down. "You look really young," he says, and I, like an idiot, stutter that I'm 15, thinking, like most 15-year-olds, that 15 isn't young. He smiled really slow and said, "This is a dangerous area to be walking alone, and there are all types of men out there. Why don't I get on the bus?" Now, I may have been drunk, I may have been 15, and I may have been deludedly self-confident, but I wasn't that stupid. Something just didn't feel right, you know. I told him no thank you and quickly started walking again. For a while, the bus behind me didn't move, and then I heard its brakes lift and it started creeping up behind me again. By this time, I'm over the bridge and walking down a sidewalk with apartment complexes on either side. The bus pulls up again and opens its doors while following me. The man again tells me it's not safe and asks me to get on the bus. I told him no, I'm really almost home, it's fine, and I start walking faster. He closes the doors but keeps the bus keeping pace with me, and I'm really starting to worry. Finally, I decide to just run. So I start running, and at first I put some distance between myself and the bus, but he's still behind me. I slow down when I feel far enough away and catch my breath, but keep walking. Next thing I know, the bus starts gaining on me again and honks its horn. I screamed and fell over, still super drunk and now very scared. I got up and scurried into the neighborhood at my side and hid behind one of the carports. I could still see the road and the bus had stopped. Its doors opened and the man came to the doorway and looked out in both directions. He lingered there for a moment and then I heard him say, "Darn!" and he got back to his seat, closed the doors and drove away. It took me another 30 minutes to get home, even though it was less than a mile at that point, because I took a convoluted way through the bushes, yards, and apartment complexes, terrified the bus was still cruising around looking for me. So to that bus driver all those years ago, let's not meet again. Our next story is Landlords from Heck. When I was in my early 20s and living in Chicago, I wasn't making much money. When I found this apartment, it was too good to be true. The top floor of a duplex with 6 rooms for $775 a month. The agent who showed me the apartment stressed to me that the landlords were very religious. I didn't have a problem with that, even if it did sound a little ominous. The landlords were an elderly couple that lived downstairs. They seemed okay at first. When I saw them in the yard, they would smile at me. I took good care of the house. Then when they saw I was having my boyfriend over, things started to get really weird. One day I was in my office writing. I hear a knock at the door. I open it and it's the old lady from downstairs. Before I can say hello, she says, "Have you ever gotten an abortion?" I shut the door in her face. No thanks. This was a colossal mistake. The house was laid out kind of weird. There was a door at the bottom of a flight of stairs that I thought led to a communal laundry room, but after accidentally opening it once, I discovered it led directly into my landlord's living room. I unfortunately learned this the hard way. I was in my kitchen cooking. My boyfriend was at work and I was by myself when I heard what sounded like the click of a door. Okay, I say out loud, what the F was that? I didn't really make the connection it could have been the door that led into their living room. I walk into the hallway and look around. I don't see anyone at the end of the hallway. I poke my head into all the rooms, nobody there. Then I look down the staircase leading to their house, and the neighbor lady is standing there, staring me down. I screamed. She flinched and I stepped back into her apartment and swung the door shut. After that, every time I left the house, and I spent every possible moment out of the house after the incident, I would come back and something would have been moved. A window would be shut. Once, the shower was dripping and my towel was damp. I couldn't lock the door because since it was technically a door to their house, they were the only ones with the key. The knocking got so frequent, 3 or 4 times a day, that me and my boyfriend propped up an old mattress so we wouldn't have to hear it while we slept. The second to last straw was when I opened the door for work and the stairs were gone. I physically could not leave my house because there were no stairs. They had been dismantled and were sitting on their porch. I called them repeatedly, but they didn't answer. Finally, their son came out of the house and explained that they were remodeling the porch. He told me I had to cut through their apartment downstairs. I ascended the stairs and opened the door, and they were both sitting at their filthy kitchen table, staring at me. The phone was in its cradle. They must have heard it ringing. They kept staring at me with this blank look on their faces. I crossed their kitchen and left out the back door. A few days later, I came home from my job and noticed the bathroom floor was almost completely flooded, like somebody left a faucet on or a shower on. The old woman, seeing that I had come home, came upstairs and knocked, screaming at me that I had flooded the bathroom and that her son had to come and fix it. I was so run down at this point that I just told her it was okay. Her son comes by a few hours later. He is drunk. I open the door and tell him that I need an hour or so before he comes, and he picks something up and swings it at me. It was a massive wrench. I somehow duck out of his way as he stumbles over. I book it down the newly repaired stairs as quickly as possible and call the police. They come by and take down a complaint, but claim since there was no physical contact, they can't do anything. I learned later that the old couple had a daughter on the force. In the middle of the night, me, my boyfriend, and several of his friends packed all of our stuff into a Chevy Astro. We lived in hotels in the van for a month until we found another house. They never attempted to contact us again. Old landlords, let's not meet again. Edit. I am going to file a police report. I don't know why I haven't before. Thanks for inspiring me to do so. Second edit. I didn't technically file a police report. They just took down a complaint, whatever that even means. Our final story for the day is Kitten Man. So some background context. This was back in the 90s when our only option was a landline phone and dial-up internet. I was around 8 to 9 years old when my mom started leaving me home with my oldest brother while she went to work. My brother was much older, around 17 at the time. As most teenage boys, his favorite thing to do was sleep really late during the day and stay up all night playing games. PS1, don't come for me, I'm getting old. I remember being bored playing with my Barbies in the living room of my house with the blinds wide open to let some sunlight in and save on electricity. I would sit there for hours and play. When Mom was gone, she always told us to answer the phone when it rang in case she was calling to check on us and make sure we were okay. I remember one day specifically, I answered the phone and just heard loud breathing on the other end of the phone. kept saying hello, but no one would reply, so eventually I would hang up. This went on daily for about 2 months, and it was always in the morning time when my brother was asleep. Being a naive 8 to 9-year-old girl, I didn't really think anything of it, and eventually, the call stopped. A few months go by and I'm sitting in my living room floor again when the phone rings. I hear the same breathing again and say, "Hello, who is this?" To my surprise, a man replies and says, "Hello, Kitten. Do you remember me?" I remember being surprised that he called me Kitten, but replying that he had the wrong number. This is where it gets creepy. He then replies, "No, Kitten, I have the right number. You're wearing a kitty shirt right now." I remember looking down and immediately panicking and hanging up the phone when I see the tabby kitten on my shirt. The phone then rings again and I refuse to answer it. I run to wake up my brother and he sleepily follows me to the living room. The phone rings again and he answers it, but no one is there. He then unplugs the phone and tells me that it is just my imagination and to leave him alone so he can sleep. Being scared, I decided to close the windows and sit on the couch until my mom got home that afternoon. That night, I told my mom what happened, but my brother told her I was making it up and that he didn't see or hear anything. I think my mom believed me, but she just told me to hang up the phone if it wasn't her and to never open the door for a stranger. I agreed and told her I wouldn't. That next day, my mom was off work and she took me to the store with her. We were walking around when I noticed a man in a long trench coat. I thought the coat was weird, but didn't really think anything else of it. We then ran into one of my mom's friends who has a daughter my age. My mom and her friend were chatting away, and my friend and I were standing a few feet from them messing with some birthday cards. We went around to the other side of the cards to look, out of sight of our moms. Suddenly, the man with the trench coat is right near us, looking at the cards too. He then picks up a card and turns to me and my friend and says hello. Being polite, we respond, "Hello." He then starts picking up cards saying he is getting his daughter something and asks what we like. My friend points to a random card and he smiles and says, "That is nice." He then picks up another card and shows it to us. The card has kittens all over it and he looks directly at me and says, "I'm sure you like kittens, don't you?" I don't really know how to respond and remember feeling extremely nervous. He smiled when he saw me getting nervous and says, "Kittens and Barbies." This kicked my fight or flight into action at the young age of 8 or 9. I nervously laughed and said we had to go back to our moms now. The man then reaches out and grabs my arm. My friend takes off running around the corner to get my mom. The man tries to pull me to the front of the store, but I kick him as hard as I can and go flying out of his grip. He then gets up and runs out the door about the time that my mom makes it over to me. The police are called and a report is filed. To my knowledge, they never found the man, but my mom was extremely paranoid after hearing the link between the phone calls and the incident, and she found a new house in the city right over from us not even a month later. Thankfully, that was the last time I heard from him. So all I can really say is, Kitten Man, let's not meet again. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a like or letting me know in the comments. I release new videos twice a week, funny or outrageous ones on Wednesdays and spooky ones on Sundays. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.